Hello everyone, good evening and welcome back to a brand new review of my Doctor Who Marathon. Now, last time we reviewed the brilliant Dalek Invasion of Earth, personally my favourite Dalek story in the William Hartnell era, but now we're going to make our way and move forward to our next story to review, and this one may be a bit difficult to review as in only 2 of the episodes are missing and 2 of the episodes are still found and are still in good quality. And so today I'm going to be reviewing from the Lost in Time box set, The Crusade, a brilliant, like a really great historical, based around from, you know, the actual Crusades back in those days. And so this is going to be a quite difficult to review, and because 2 of the episodes which I really enjoyed, I thought they were really good, but then the audio, I kind of fell asleep while watching, when listening to the audio quality on episode 2, I just fell asleep, not only because I think it was boring, perhaps I did, I mean, it's just, perhaps when I'm listening to audio, I cannot really get my mind to think what's actually happening in the story. I need visual content. I can just not listen to all the audio content and expect me to give it like a 100% 10 out of 10 story. I need the visuals to actually see it. I think there was on 2 occasions where for 3 complete minutes there were complete silence, like no audio at all, just complete music in the background. Probably there was a chase scene or a fight scene, I don't know, but it was completely boring and just that's my only downfall. There were some scenes that I just didn't really like at all. So yeah, this is going to be a very difficult review, but let's get it started anyway, because there's no backstory for the Crusade at all, but what I have to say is that from my experience of watching the 2 episodes that I really enjoyed, episodes 1 and 3, which are on the episodes that still remain, so those episodes were really good. It does explain what's the plot feeling like and like what's the quality like, is it great, is it good. Yeah, so it tells you a little bit about, you know, what's actually happening in the story. They got introduced to Ian, Barbara, Susan. Well, actually, Susan's not in this one. There's another actress called Vicky, and played by Maureen O'Brien, and so she plays Vicky, and yeah, it was quite interesting to see, you know, how Vicky could cope with, you know, being in the you know, being back in the past, because remember in the Aztecs you can't change anything, whereas this wasn't an adaptation from the actual Crusade. I think it was more a revolveration around the Crusade. Anyway, I'm not 100% sure. This is just a review on what I based around the 3 episodes that I've watched. So episode 1 was really good. It was a good introduction with a fight scene. I was like where the king was trying to get away from hunters who were trying to capture the king in order to steal the glory from him, and you know, destroy him, and you know, take his upper place, and you know, be ruler, and you know, conquer and destroy basically the king or something like that. And the King Richard, played by Julian Glover, he was a brilliant actor who played the magnificent King Richard in this story. He was just phenomenal, and I definitely saw portrayed an evilness in him. He was very manipulative because he didn't really fancy, you know, giving himself up too easily. He just focused mainly on trying to know what was going to happen in the end, and you know, he has strong beliefs about everything, and he had an argument between his wife, or the Princess of England, Joanna, and she didn't like the commitment of her being married to the brother of Asladin. So she didn't really like that concept at all, and so she was so furious with King Richard, and I can almost hear his anger from King Richard, like, get out, leave me be, all that shouting, just created an intense atmosphere, which I personally quite liked, because whenever in the Crusade there's always a bit of violence and there's always a bit of shouting now and again. El Killer, the masked villain in this story, wow, he was just brilliant. I only saw him in couple of clips during these episodes, and wow, he was made such as a great villain. He was very sly, very eager, but very, you know, mischief in some places, which I quite liked of a villain. He was a very sneaky and very evil man. He desperate to kill the king in order to gain his his rightful place. So yeah, I definitely believe that the Crusade is, well, it's a good story, I have to say, but with the audio quality in this, it's okay to listen to. I'm not saying that it's a trouble or, you know, a pain to listen to, but me, I think when it came to episode 2, it just felt very boring, had a lack of pace, only because I couldn't see the actual visual content. That's probably what it let it down on. So that's just why I just have to say it's just very lacking pace. Couldn't go a bit more further. I think some of the audio quality was very good. I think most of the scenes and, well, most of the, you know, the clips where I heard most of the audio was very trying to make Ian the Knight of Jaffa, and then making a trade between well, you know, trying to conjure up this kind of plan in order for the Princess of England, Joanna, to be traded over with Aquila or Saladin to, you know, to marry, you know, her. And so from that trade, they automatically wanted another offer to give back Sir William and Barbara, who was originally captured in the first episode. So they really wanted Barbara's release from Aquila's, you know, hiding place, but also Saladin, because Saladin in the first episode really thought that Barbara was kind of a complete stranger, and she wasn't. He almost thought that she was the actual princess of England, but she didn't really seem as the princess, which he kind of saw in Barbara, like, you're not the image of the Princess of England. And also Sir William also, he really just took on basically made himself look as he was the king. Framed also, you know, the killer of, you know, oh no, the King Richard has more reddish hair and this one does not. And so basically he kind of fooled, you know, Aquila and his men that he is a king, and to let the real king get away, and, you know, made himself, you know, in the comfort of safety of the Doctor, Sue, and Vicky and Ian. Ian went on this quest to make sure that the deal between getting Barbara back and Sir William in a trade for the Princess of England to marry the brother of Saladin. And so yeah, it was a good plan, but most of the princesses didn't agree with it because she was just so furious. I mean, she couldn't give up on just accepting this and, like, you know, making the king forget about her at all. So that was the one thing I just didn't like at all. I mean, what's the point of a king whose daughter, the Princess of England, should give herself up to these nasty villains who might torture her forever? It's just a way of making her, you know, being treated, and, you know, it's not pleasant at all. As I said again, I have no 100% knowledge on this story. Most of the story that I know of the Crusade was in episode 3 and 1. And most of the side characters in this were really good. I think one of the persons, such as the guy who sold the silks and sands and sashes and, you know, in the market, basically complained to the Doctor that he stole his robes and, you know, sashes and silks and stuff like that. And so he was kind of an exaggerated character. He was very excited, but also very eager to you know, impress his, you know, his lords and his majesties and stuff. He was very agitated. I can see he was very, you know, proud of his work and how, you know, selling and, you know, his royal robes and stuff like that. I can see that the Doctor was very, you know, having a good laugh with him, because he felt so of a, you know, an idiot really, because he had so much of this agitated personality about himself, on how, you know, this will please him, and, like, you know, would the Majesty agree, and, you know, stuff like that. I think it got really into, you know, into the Doctor's way, and really just made, you know, the room a bit, you know, awkward for the Doctor. So like, okay, don't waste my time, don't get carried away with everything, just go on your way and get doing what you're doing. So that's what he kind of, you know, said to him, because he's just an agitated guy. He's very proud of his work, and so I can really see about that, but don't press on about how this work, it just revolves around himself and how he wants to impress the king and the king himself, His Majesty. So yeah, he was quite good. He was also very funny just to watch, basically, the Doctor trying to irritate him. Oh, it was good. Loads of the scenes where the men were trying to get killed off were in episode 1. I think there was one scene where Ian was, well, basically there was one person who was a servant of King Richard who was trying, well, basically there was a servant of a killer trying to fight the Doctor, but then one of the servants from King Richard threw a knife or sword at the, you know, the throat, and like, ugh! That kind of thing. I think that scene was really good. I think whoever did that, you know, acting scene was really good. So, I don't know how they actually did the effects, but my gosh, they did a really good job. Yeah, so there was loads of good scenes, I'll have to say, about the Crusade. Loads of things like, well, basically there was also a load of hiding places where Barbara had to, because basically she was kidnapped first, and then she escaped, and then she got recaptured again, and then escaped again, and then got recaptured. So it's basically, Barbara didn't have the worst, you know, didn't have the best story to go with, because she got a lot, you know, she got captured again, and then she got recaptured, so it's a bit on and off, really, and so it just felt that Barbara didn't really have a great place to be in because of all these recapturing, and you know, and it just really felt that this wasn't Barbara's story, because she was basically stuck in one place and then moved to another, then moved to another, just, you know, and seeing all of these other people in the, you know, in the other episodes. I think episode 3 where Mohana, I think his name is, he's more of like, you know, a guy who, you know, who is destined to kill a killer, because he's a dangerous and evil man who just wants him to be destroyed. And so he basically told Barbara about his livelihood and how his family have been, you know, getting killed off by a killer, being pointed to the stone and stuff like that. And so his livelihood has been basically the destruction and killing of Ella. So that's what he really believes in. And his daughter, Safia, completely, you know, felt that, you know, their family will return one day, but instead Barbara told her that her family will not come back because they've been completely killed off by a killer. And so she does believe that a killer must be destroyed. And then in the final 4th episode, I believe that Mahun, I think his name is that, who actually helped Barbara in the 3rd episode, at the start of the 3rd episode, he actually killed Ella Killer, which basically gathered on his knowledge of Destin to destroy him because he's an evil man, and he wishes destined him to be destroyed once and for all. So yeah, that's what you know, he's a really great actor. I can always see he's destined to kill him, because Ella Killer, he's a brilliant, wonderful, you know, master villain. You can almost see that kind of anger in him, and like he's a very sly character. You can always misjudge him at some case, where he's being quite nice and very compassionate, but then he's sometimes being very evil against his enemies, which I definitely adore, and I quite like and admire his, you know, his will to basically, you know, give all of his, you know, prisoners and, you know, compassion whenever they're serving him. It's almost like the Aztecs, where basically they, you know, treat their victims with, you know, compassion and, you know, courtesy. This is basically the same, but El Killer does it in a really, really sly way. Basically treats them with compassion, then suddenly he automatically assaults them in a brutal way. And so that's probably one of the characters of El Killer that I quite liked about the Crusade. And most of the characters that I thought that were quite deceiving, such as the Lord of Leicester, he just really felt as a really insult character, because the Doctor didn't like him at all. He felt that one of the soldiers was, well, his army felt that, you know, the army is his life, and he believed that fighting and the killing is the way of life. And so, like, the Doctor was, like, completely against it, like, you imbecile, I hate bulls, and completely, the Lord of Leicester kind of was kind of like an idiot, really, who just didn't know much knowledge about what is life really all about, and like his life really depends on the sacrifices he's made for his army and his men. Just really wanted him, you know, destined to kill all of the Saladin's men in order to gain, you know, destined for power again and position. So he despised the Doctor from the start and just really didn't pay much attention towards, you know, his ideas and commitment. And so King Richard got really upset with that, and so he really got against the Doctor and really, you know, out of hand. So that's why I felt that I think the King really just gave up on when the Doctor gave the plan away to the princess. So basically the Doctor really gave up his, you know, friendship with the King and really had that, you know, slash between, are you my enemy or are you a spy to do, you know, to this kingdom and to this place. But in the end, the Doctor does seem as a brilliant, as a wonderful friend to King Richard, and does say to him that he will see Jerusalem once again because he knows the past and he knows what's going to happen to King Richard, and so he believes that he will certainly, you know, find Jerusalem again. So at least that's something to give him hope, which he's destined for, King Richard. He just wants to see Jerusalem again, which gives him more hope in order for him to redeem himself in his, you know, his loss of trauma, and he's had, you know, so many stressful, trying to convince his, you know, the princess to give herself up to the brother of Saladin in order for him to marry her, and therefore, you know, be able to have more power and to destine her for, you know, glory, well, use her as a way of giving themselves more power and more glory. Whereas for the princess, she completely despised the plan. She just hated what she was going to get herself into, and she completely went berserkers all over the king and just didn't really like the plan that she was going into. And so the king really felt that the princess was just giving up on him, and just he kind of felt almost lost of, you know, the kind of the acceptance that she had for him. And so yeah, that's basically the story of the Crusade. Basically, from my terms, most of the killing that I quite liked were in episode 1, which were brilliant. And El Killer, brilliant master villain. He's just so initially a brilliant mischief villain. And the King Richard and the princess were also quite good as well. Barbara basically got, you know, into Miss Mouse, got recaptured and kidnapped again. Basically more of a, you know, on-lap story. And then, what can I say about Ian? Basically the Knight of Jaffa. I have to say that he was a good knight. He basically, you know, captured basically found Barbara and brought her back to the TARDIS, which was a good heroic thing since he was the Knight of Jaffa. And had a basically, you know, quest in order to search for Barbara and also for Sir William. I'm not sure if Sir William got returned to King Richard in the end. I'm not sure. Did he get killed off? I'm not sure. How am I supposed to know? I think it got killed off in the 4th episode, which the visual content's all, you know, gone. The TV archives are just completely destroyed from episodes 2 and 4. Excuse me. And so basically, just the audio quality is all I heard. I don't know who got killed or who not got killed. So it was a very mysterious just to see who got killed in the end and who, you know, actually lived. And so, interesting story though. But if I had to give this based on the audio and also the 2 episodes that I've watched, I would have to give this a 7.5. I have to say, just only because I liked 1 and 3, episodes 1 and 3 the best, because they were good. Really good episodes. Whereas episode 2, I felt with episode 2 was just a complete boring. It was just basically lack of pace, really. Just didn't get me into the mood. I basically, you know, fell asleep, you know, halfway through episode 2 and just, oh my gosh, I just felt such a fool, really, you know, falling asleep. But it just made me fall asleep. It was just so boring. And yet again, I managed to watch the 4th episode because it was the end and I really wanted to know what would actually happen to a killer. Will he get killed off? And also the scenes where Ian, you know, well, Ian told the story of the Crusade at the beginning. That was a good thing. I mean, William Russell, who played the actor of Ian, basically told the story of the Crusade, and I thought that was actually a good, you know, way of, you know, introducing what happened to the story, really backtrack a lot of information of what's already happened, and I thought that really just, you know, sums up of what actually happened in the story, and so that was really a good way of, you know, explaining and giving myself a lot more information. Anyway, what I have in my hand right here is the brand new Doctor Who magazine that has just been released just yesterday. And yeah, I just picked this up today and I actually saw it in Sainsbury's near where I live. And so this is just basically a, you know, I wanted to pick this up because it was basically the 2017 yearbook and what's happened, you know, throughout 2016. It's basically what's like, well, the Power of the Dogs, which we've already reviewed. We have Class, which I also have been reviewed as well. But also, if you look in here, you have many other different things about this, you know, about Doctor Who as well. And so you'll be able to, well, if I read, basically I'll read it and I may give you a little bit of review on, you know, should you buy it. And so I'll probably get this, you know, review done, or hopefully if I do a review on this, then I will certainly recommend it to any people, because usually the Doctor Who magazines usually release about every 4 months. And so if you definitely want to pick this up as one of your collection, I mean, I'm collecting them at the moment, and so I maybe do a review on this if you're, you know, certain to buy this. And so anyway guys, thank you for watching for this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give a like. Please subscribe to my channel if you're new, and also please comment down below if you think that this was a good review. I know I couldn't give it any more information about the Crusade, only because it is a missing story, but I hope you have gathered a lot of information from this review anyway. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, and I wish you a Merry Christmas, and I will see you guys very shortly for another review, or for the review of this Doctor Who magazine. Thanks for watching guys, and I will see you guys very soon.